Hi, and thank you so much for opening up this video. I feel very strongly that before you sign any contract that you understand what you're signing. So I'm going to briefly go over some important points for you to review, but I highly recommend you read this contract verbatim and make a list of your questions. And then this way, before we go ahead and put in an offer, you can ask me the questions and we'll get answers. And then I think you'll feel better before signing anything if you understand what this contract's about. So it's pretty self-explanatory, beginning with the parties. Who's the seller, who's the buyer? Pretty easy. And we are using Minnie and Mickey Mouse because obviously they live in the state of Florida, and we want to make sure we represent Florida. And next, under number 1 is the address. Then we have what's called the legal description, and that's basically the legal description of the address that's found on the tax appraiser website. Then where it says personal property, when we purchase a property, or when you purchase a property, there might be something missing, like a refrigerator, or there might be, let's say, a light fixture that you love. We are going to put that in there. And then there's another place in the contract where we add like special items or special agreements in terms of the transaction, which I'll go over when we get there. Next, number 2 is purchase price. Purchase price is the price that we're going to be offering for the property. And that price may not be the asking price, and it may not even be the price that you were thinking. Like, you may have to pay more, because if I find out there's multiple offers and you really love this house, there's 2 ways to win the bid. Number 1 is price, and number 2 are terms, which I'm going to go into right now. So terms means, for example, your deposit. If you can put at least 5% of the purchase price down, it definitely shows that you have stronger terms. And then even better than that, if you put a second deposit down, an additional deposit, which would happen 10 days later, it definitely makes the contract look better. That, in terms of that, like how much deposit, I'm going to be able to guide you based on what's happening in the market at that very moment, because it could change week to week. So you don't have to focus on how much right now. That's going to be based on where we are putting in the offer. So we have a balance of what you'll pay, and that means that you're either going to pay cash or you're going to be paying or using a lender to pay the remainder, and then you'll pay the rest off with a mortgage. The time for acceptance means that we are going to put in an offer today, and then we're going to give the seller's agent 24 to 48 hours to respond with either yes, they're going to take our offer, no, or they're going to counter our offer. Now, here's the thing. I'm going to know whether we want to move quickly or if we can give them time. It all depends. If the house has been sitting there for a while, we can definitely give them 2 days, because that means like not everybody's running to put in an offer. But if I see like that there's so many people putting in offers, and I will know that just by speaking to the agent, then we're going to go ahead and just give them 24 hours because we want to know right away so we don't waste time. Next, we're going to go into the closing date. The closing date is going to depend on whether you are paying cash. It's going to depend on whether you are going to be using a lender. And then there's other variables, like when are you moving? Are you coming from another state? Do we need to wait for the seller to maybe finish up a school year? So all that is going to depend on the conversation I have with the listing agent. Now, I'm going to scroll down and go right to financing, which is paragraph 8. This is super important. So if you are paying cash, it's cash. Cash is king. It's just, one payment or 2 payments actually, and we're done. We don't really have any type of finance contingency. However, if you are using a lender, depending on the actual program, whether it's a conventional VA, FHA, or other type of loan, will depend on what type of closing date we can expect, like how much time will the lender need. It'll also depend on the type of contingencies. If this is a jumbo mortgage, or if you are financing over a certain amount, they may require 2 appraisals, which means we need to make sure we let the seller's agent know. So instead of it being a 30-day close, it may have to be a 45 or 60-day close. So with that being said, it's really important that the lender that you work with is someone that we are going to be able to communicate with fairly easily, because so much can happen between the time a contract's executed until we get to the closing table. So please read through paragraph 8 very carefully. Next, we're going to go down, we're going to scroll on down, and again, there's so much to read, but I want to just touch upon the points that are going to really stick out here. The next thing we're going to talk about are the property inspection. So right now in this market, 2025, we're looking at a 10 to 15 day home inspection. Sometimes we have to shorten that, because if I know there's a home that is a really good price and I call the seller's agent and they say, yeah, we've had 10 offers already, I'm going to try to position you with a stronger offer by shortening the inspection period. And that means we get an inspector in there, get a report within 24 hours, and then review, and then give them an answer whether we're going to move forward with this contract or not. I always try to only put offers on properties when I know my clients are absolutely willing, able, and ready to do it. If you are doubting this decision, we are not putting in an offer. Why? Because your offer may get accepted, and I don't want to put in an offer if you're not sure that you want this home. So let's be sure, and I will not pressure you to ever put in an offer. I want you to be comfortable. So the inspection period is your first opportunity only if we find that there is such a major issue and a very costly issue and the seller's not willing to negotiate, it's time to move on. So again, please read through this paragraph and then we can discuss further when we meet. Moving down, I'm going to go all the way down here, and again, there's a lot to read, but over here there is a section where if we wanted to add additional terms, we can. And that section is called the additional terms. So for example, if you wanted to keep a certain light fixture, or if you wanted to purchase furniture that's in the home, then I would put in the offer and say, price to include TVs, price to include patio furniture. It all depends on the strategy we're going to take with that property and the market. If we are in a multiple offer situation, we are not going to be able to ask for much. We need to give them strong terms and a good price. But if it's a home that's been sitting there, then we have some more negotiating power. So all of that is going to be determined on the location and the timing of the market. So that is just a snapshot. There's so much to read, so much to go over. And of course, if you have any questions, please make a list and let's discuss when we meet again.